Welcome back. Pregame.tv, Steve Fezzik here with Vegas runner. Brady Cannon. Well, at least we got a prop for Brady. Actually, I should have put a margarita out in front for VR. They will be back sometime here during the summer, hopefully when it's very, very hot. But I'm merely Steve Fezzik flying solo. We're going to talk NBA. Of course, this is a wasted exercise because you know the Spurs are going to win it all. I know the Spurs are going to win it all. And everything else is just for entertainment purposes only, really. But we can make money along the way. Let's recap maybe what we've learned so far, what we can look for going forward. I think it's important to note that zigzag, we just had a nice debate here, Cade and I, my production manager, about will zigzag work going forward? And he was saying, oh, well, zigzags, anti-zigzag might win, or is zigzag okay? And really what it is that I would much rather zigzag than zig-zig, meaning whoever covers game one, preferably covers and wins. I look to fade in game two. But the question is, the odds makers obviously adjust somewhat for this. Is it enough to overcome the -110 or -107 or -105 VIG? And I think the answer is you really have to pick your spots effectively. We look no further than these home teams. When they lose in game one, pretty much game two is a situation where I want to either back that home team or I want to just pass the game completely. We look what the Splash Brothers did to the Clip Joints. They come back, the Clippers, and annihilate Golden State. But this Clipper team, this is a dumb team. You get up 25 on a team. I like much better what the Pacers did tonight against the Hawks, where they went in and blew them out. They got up 25. Coasted on into the win by 18 or so points. That's the way you blow a team out in the playoffs. You don't give them ammunition and put gasoline on the fire and try to embarrass a team so they're going to give you their maximum effort. I know people say, oh, Fezzik doesn't know what he's talking about. Everyone gives maximum effort each and every game. Well, I don't think that Golden State did in game two at Staples Center. The bottom line is they came to Staples. They wanted to win one of two games. They got their win, and that's what happened. I think the same really happened with Atlanta here. I know we got a couple more series. We're taping this on Tuesday night, so I'm actually sweating out the Toronto-Brooklyn game where Toronto holds a narrow lead. But another example, them and the Bulls, of home teams that need this game like blood, and you had to pay a premium for it in the spread. Toronto opened in game one -2.5. Game two, they were cutting in line to lay 4 and even 4.5 as it went up to 5. So the question is how much line value you're willing to give up to get the right side. And I think that it really all depends. And this is an example, too, during live wagering oftentimes. Hey, there was a period of time when this line became pick'em with Indiana and Atlanta when Indiana laid an egg here in the first quarter. So certainly we can see great situations to bet during the live wagering, and that's, of course, offered by several sports books, both here locally in town and in faraway places. Real quick summarizing, this is old hat for you who have been following me. You have the pretenders. I consider the high-scoring teams right now in the NBA. This doesn't always have to be the case in Oklahoma City is pretty high scoring, and I don't consider them to be a pretender. They're one of the three teams that could win. They, Miami, and the Spurs, of course. And the Spurs are a pretty high scoring team as well. But the really high flying teams, the teams that are used to playing their games with totals at 210 and not 204, we're talking, the Rockets, Portland, Clippers. Those are the teams that I really think have almost no realistic chance, and you look at it on the futures boards, and boy, are you getting robbed blind on the odds. Because the problem is that when you're playing that way for 82 games, and then you get into these fourth quarters and you get these grinded out games, and all of a sudden Blake Griffin's chucking 17-foot jump shots off the back rim or the backboard first. DeAndre Jordan might look good when his team's up 20 shooting those free throws. You put him in when the game's tied, you can only imagine the mess that Mr. 44% free throw shooter is going to make of it, or whatever it is. Same with Dwight Howard with his 55% free throw. I want a team that can make their free throws and not have to sweat, oh my goodness, I just got a rebound. I need to pass the ball immediately and get the ball out of my hands. I want a guy who wants the ball in his hands, not someone who doesn't want the ball in his hands. I actually would say that Golden State, of all these teams, might be a team that is a little, they have the reputation for splashy and fast paced, but actually they are the third best defensive team in the second half in the NBA as far as points given up. So there's one team that there's a little misconception that everyone, I think, lumps them in with the Clippers, with the Rockets, and they're a little less happy action fun time, especially with Mark Jackson in the second half. So there's a team where I think you might not see the scoring explosion with them like you might see with some of these other teams. So maybe if they had a little more depth, but with the loss of Bogut, got to put them in completely in the pretenders class. And over on the East, I don't even like the Heat. I think the Heat are overrated. I think they're stepped down from where they were previously. But boy, this Pacer team is just a hot mess. And if you look at these other teams, the Bulls, I think we see the problem with the Bulls. Thibodeau is such a great coach, and they're a lunch pail, blue-collar team. They give maximum effort each and every night. And the problem with that is all these other teams can take it up a gear. The Washington Wizards can play harder during the playoffs than they do during the regular season. I'm not sure that that's the case with the Bulls. I think the Bulls, although I love the way they play, just not enough talent. I got to put them in the pretender. Toronto's just happy to be here, clearly. Great fans and the like. They're a pretender across the board. The one team that might be able to do something here in the East and cause some shockwaves would be the Nets. I think because they do have the playoff experience. They were horrible back in November, but they were getting to know each other. They're like the University of Kentucky team, except for instead of having 18-year-old freshmen with Julius Randle and company, they had 36-year-old guys. They were just getting used to each other. So I know Toronto is the Raptors, but really New Jersey, the Dinosaurs, the old guys, they might be able to make a little bit of noise, but still, I can't see anybody knocking off Miami. And actually, that's not true. I can see someone knocking off Miami, but if they do, they're just going to get their doors blown off when they face the Spurs, or alternatively, Oklahoma City. So we're sticking with our Spurs. We gave that out at 3-1 or better as our best bet. So no best bet here, just discussion of the NBA playoffs. I really haven't seen anything change. The one thing I will say is that very important, oftentimes, we saw a lot of money come in the unders, and ultimately 5 of the first 8 games did go over the total, despite all those line moves. We're seeing some game 2s that are a mixed bag so far as how high scoring it is. But when these series start getting deep, game 5, game 6, game 7, I look under or I pass. That's a situation where I just never look to play over late in a series. These games become so important. So look for, it doesn't matter if it's round 1 or the championship final. Let's look for unders later in the series. You might want to play some overs in games 1 and 2 and games 3. But by the time we get to the middle of the series my betting tip in the playoffs would be look towards the Undertaker, as we like to call him. I'm sure he'll be on some select unders here at pregame.com. So good luck with all of your betting here throughout the NBA playoffs. I will be here, and hopefully we'll have Brady Cannon back. We'll get VR back at some point. And Brian Leonard is furiously handicapping baseball. We're going to have Brian here during the summer. And, of course, Marco D'Angelo will be here later in the week with Ken Thompson, breaking down more basketball and baseball as well. Thanks for tuning in again. We appreciate you coming by here, pregame.tv. Stay tuned. We're going to talk a little bit about the upcoming, never too early to talk about football, not the draft, not ready to talk about the draft yet, but we're going to talk about the LVH Super Contest, the former Hilton contest, how many entries we expect to have, and when it's going to be this coming late summer, early fall. So stay with us for that, and thank you again.